Hey, sports fans, Coach Nick here, and welcome to B-Ball Breakdown. I got my glasses on here again, and I don't know what to say. I'm so flabbergasted right now. I don't think I've ever seen a 15-point lead in the fourth quarter of a second-round playoff game lost like that. Although we did see it with the game four, but we definitely had never seen a play like this where the referees were involved so violently. I would say the word is. Um, on both sides. It wasn't fair for both sides, but we can go through the last minute or two and just talk about a couple of these calls because they were literally so bad and so in favor of the home team, basically, that I don't know I don't know what to tell you. I really am just so flabbergasted that happened. I definitely want to see if I can't get the box score here up soon so I can kind of go through some of those things as well. Let me see if it's ready yet. It looks like it might be. Cool. So anyway, I don't know. Let me get my notes out here. We can kind of start running down some stuff before we get some questions here because it's crazy. So we started out the game here. We had Blake Griffin was hitting the mid-range really well, and we even had a couple instances where Blake guarded KD. What the Thunder were doing were they were sending a pin down with Blake's man for Durant, and they would just switch it. And so Kevin Durant was on. Blake was on Kevin Durant, and I like that. He denied him very well on one of those plays, and we didn't really get enough of that. And certainly it wasn't like they started out with him on him. I didn't see any Russell Westbrook post-ups early, and I feel like I'm not even sure I saw any or that many during the game. It's a kind of a crazy game, not easy. So that's oh my goodness gracious. Can you now hear me? You didn't hear any of that. Son of a gun. All right, well, we're back. All I can tell you is that YouTube gets a real big FU tonight because the whole thing was down, and I could barely get this thing working to begin with. So I apologize for that, but I guess I got a little bit of a rehearsal then because you didn't hear anything I said. Anyway, thanks for jumping on there. Thanks. I'm glad I checked over on Twitter. Okay, so I think you can all hear me now. Is that right? Let me see here. Let me go to my comments and see if I can't check that out. Do we have? Do we have any comments on the YouTube page? Tell me if you. Okay, I noticed. You can hear me now. Great. Okay. Hopefully you can hear me now. Awesome. All right. Well, thanks for joining us, sports fans. Welcome to B-Ball Breakdown. Let's get back to what we were talking about, which is that the Thunder didn't deserve to win this game. It was a complete steal. The way they were coached, their game plan, they had Steven Adams down there in the real crunch time, which is also very bizarre. He hadn't had any kind of experience there. I was looking for that same lineup that he had used really well in Game 3 that killed him in Game 4. So his adjustment then was, if you saw our breakdown, he had Ibaka as a center, and then Durant the power forward, and then Reggie Jackson, Caron Butler, and Russ. And he didn't go to that lineup. He substituted. Well, he had Reggie in there at the very end, but I think he had Steven Adams instead of Reggie in there for a lot of that big stretch with 5 minutes to go and 4 minutes to go. I guess you can argue it worked, but the bottom line is this is the wackiest game I've seen in a while, and the referees really tainted a lot of this. I have to tell you, both sides. It wasn't great, but there were some really crucial calls that went against the Clippers, and I got to point to right away the out-of-bounds call. Because remember, when Reggie Jackson was going for the game-tying layup, they don't call foul on Matt Barnes. And you know what? It was quick. It was in the open court, so I wouldn't blame them for not calling the bounds. But then they reviewed it. It was clearly off of Reggie Jackson, and they gave it back to the Thunder. Real big problem. And some people on Twitter wanted to say, well, because it was a foul, it kind of evens out. You can't do that. There's no evening out there when you think, oh, we missed the foul, let's give it to him. Can't do that. It's got to be who it was off of. And it was off of Reggie, and that obviously is huge. Now, it wouldn't have mattered if Chris Paul hadn't thrown the ball away. And what I also saw, I need to kind of really look through there, is that Chris Paul, maybe thinking that they were going to foul, tried to do that, throw up a shot to get like free throws. And man, I've been complaining for that on the Hackett to White stuff when you saw Kobe shooting 3/4 court shots trying to get a free throw and telling them it's the stupidest idea I've seen, because what happens when they pull their hand away at the last second and there is no foul or anything, and all of a sudden the Lakers have burped up a 3/4 court shot. So same thing there. There was no reason for Chris Paul to do that, and then you throw in the fact that okay, they're down by 1. The guy hits the 3 free throws. They have a great opportunity, and he passes up a pull-up jumper and then loses the dribble. So, the Thunder didn't deserve to win this game, and neither did the Clippers, I guess, in the end run, because you still got to make lemons out of lemonade, or the other way around. And when that happens, that's a real problem. Now, if you want to ask me questions, don't forget, use the hashtag #BBallShow just so I can find it easier on my so we can share the screen. So make sure you use hashtag #BBallShow. Otherwise, you can also comment on the YouTube comments, and we'll try and share some of those. I have some plays we can go through live. So let's see if I can't get that up real quick. Let me get my list up here and see if we can't quickly scan through some stuff, because I think it'd be interesting to see some. I want to show you some ideas I had here. So let me share the screen first with this. Now remember, it's not going to play perfectly, but it'll give you, the stutteredness will almost be like slow-mo. We can kind of talk about some stuff, and I believe you can see my arrow, so I can try and point some stuff out. So first, let's jump to 5-10 in the first, where we have, let's see here. What was I want to show you? 5-10's in the heart. Okay, so we're going to have Horns by OKC. Let's see, did I jump too far here? Let's get to 5-10. I keep showing. Okay, so here we go. So here we're going to have Horns by OKC. So people were asking, do they run Horns? And they sure do. So you have the 2 high posts. You have the 2 guys in the corner, Russell Westbrook on top. And they do this weird thing where normally, and then we saw this in Game 4 as well, when they feed the high post, normally you see the point guard run and set a down screen for Kevin Durant in the corner. He'll curl or he'll get a double screen with Perkins, which is great action. But instead, they do this thing where they curl Russ back around this screen. It doesn't work, and ultimately it goes into a pick and roll. Oh, I see. And then, oh yeah, and there was a great play by Blake to jump that pick. So after Blake Griffin's man screens Nick Collison, as he's on his way back to pick him up after the hedging, he just takes the ball away because the spacing is very poor in that. Collison and Durant were sort of in the same spot. It looked like it could have been a pin down. It was just a mess. So there's an example of them trying to kind of get out of the box there with a play, and it's just ill-conceived to begin with, and no need to. If it ain't broken horns, just run the regular basic set out of that. Let's move on to in 358. I wanted to show you a nice little roll here, a short roll. Remember, we talk about short roll all the time because that's our devastating play in the pick and roll, where the roll man doesn't go very far. He goes during the free throw line to grab it. So let's go here to let's see, 358. Where, okay, and we keep seeming to have people who can keep jumping in here, and so feel free not to jump into this. I'm not sure how you're getting in here as part of the hangout. We don't want to hear you. I don't really have a chance to welcome everybody, so I'm not sure. But that's the second time. Again, YouTube is not behaving very well. But here we go. Let's go back to the play. So here we go. A high pick and roll. With CP3 and Blake. And you can see here that they suck. Oh, I see what this is. Oh, I know. Okay, we go back to the roll. So they go all the way around the horn. So it didn't work. If it didn't work the first time, they get right back into the pick and roll here. And they're going to have Collison's going to come up high to hedge, which is fine. Russell Westbrook is running to get around. And so look, a nice little pocket pass to the free throw line. Now that's going to suck in Redick's man over here. It's sort of his job. Although if Ibaka wasn't standing straight up and paying attention better, what he could have done was yell to Reggie and say, "No, I got the bump. I can bump. You stay with Redick." But instead, Reggie comes all the way over. Now you have I'm sorry, that's Durant and not Ibaka. So now you have three guys basically converging on the ball. Terrible spacing here on the defensive end. Great find though by Blake to hit him in the corner. That's an easy shot. That's like a warm-up shot for him, and to hit a three. So, real problem there. Let's zoom on to 240. Let's see here. Next play is the only problem I have here is the let's see here. Let's see if we can't jump to skip the commercials and get to 240. All right, so here we go. Another nice play by the Clippers. Blake wide open on a pick and pop. So they push the ball. This is nice. Back to CP3, and he just controls the game here. He's under control. He scans very well. And let me make sure you can still hear me. It looks like you can. Good. All right, so we come into a feed the post. We didn't see enough Blake Griffin post-ups, by the way, in the first half. Really didn't happen that much. And there was an example coming off. So this is all great ball movement. They're slowly going to stretch the defense out here. Until we break into, okay, so there, a nice little pick and roll. Because that movement was going so much and Collison kept having to jump into different lanes to help, now it opens up a nice, easy Blake Griffin pick and pop. There's nobody there to help because Redick is in the corner. Reggie Jackson gets stuck in between. And, oh, yeah, I remember this play. That was, Blake should have shot it on that one wide open, but he kept moving it. So then he run another pick and roll, and guess what here? Another pop, and he's wide open again. Could have shot it, and then there's Reggie Jackson, or there's Redick hitting the jump shot and a nice fade. So that's all really good offense, and you can't really fault Blake for wanting to move the ball. It was a little strange, though, because he was hitting so well. Let's move on to the second. Let's see here. Let's move on. Actually, let's take some questions, shall we? Let's see what we got here, because I have a feeling we have a lot of questions coming up here. So let's go to Twitter first and see what we have here. Looks like a lot of stuff is lit up here. Let me go back and get the far enough back to see here. All right, let's start with this. This looks like a good question to start with. Let me make this a little bit bigger. Can we read this? And make this like this and do that. All right, live TV, everybody. All right, so what we have here is net. Russ is probably extremely valuable, but his decision making is very suspect. Is there any way to fix that? Yeah, I mean, you have coaching. Coaching should be guys sitting down with him every game methodically and over again, trying to instill in him what the correct decision was in each position, in each situation. Eventually it seeps in, or eventually it doesn't, but I just don't think they do it enough. I feel like he made. It's just my impression that he's very defensive. I don't even know why I'm saying that. I hate to talk badly about somebody behind their back, but I just don't know. I would have faith in a good coach being able to influence his decision making better if they really were doing it. So which play should OKC Thunder run to get easy plays for KD for Kevin Durant? I mean, I'll have to go through and look at every different half-court set and see what they're running, but you need to get him moving full speed around a couple screens in a row. We never see him go side to side very much. It's very frustrating because it makes the defense, they know where he is. And Doc had a great quote at some point talking about going to CP3 on him in Game 4. And the quote was amazing because basically what he said was, we were desperate. It wasn't like a thing that we had a stroke of genius, let's put CP3 on him because that'll work. They were desperate, but what they also said was that it would allow them to know where he is because they knew that they would post him up on the right block. And so at least defensively they could run at him and double team him because they know where he'd be as opposed to moving around anywhere else, of which he doesn't do that much anyway. So I really thought that was impressive by Doc where they kind of figured that out, where they can pin him into one spot and at least control how he's going to attack. I'd much rather have him try and attack as a post-up than as a on the perimeter. He really is that much more dangerous. Excluding this game, why the Clippers the poor rebounding team with DJ and Blake, and which team has the better bench? That's a great question. It's not clear. They're both good rebounders, and they both go after the ball. I'll have to look at that and see if it's a box-out issue or not, but that's a tough one. How often is a play called by coach versus players freelancing? This is the question I actually replied this in the game, but this is the question I'm going to ask every coach that I interview at Summer League because I'm really curious to hear what they say and if there's a golden ratio to call plays versus organic, let the motion run. I know Popovich doesn't control it that much. I don't think. I mean, I think if you did a survey, he would probably control it the least of anybody. But there are some coaches that probably call plays out 75% of the time, and I think it's the terrible way to coach. That's why I like the triangle. A triangle, there is no calls to make. Every so often, not a timeout, sure, you call a set or whatever, but other than that, it's a flow, and they all have options, and there's definitely secondary action after that. And that's what makes it work because the game is too fast to be trying to manage it that much from the bench. And you don't want your players to be relying on you from the bench. You want them to be able to make the good decisions in real time, playing in the moment. Why did either team go small? I think they went small at the end, the Thunder, at the way end. But they're clearly trying things and throwing things up there and seeing what sticks from game to game. And this was their game to try, like keeping it a little bit bigger. If the Thunder move on to the Western Conference, will they have a chance of beating the Spurs? I don't see it. I don't see either of these teams beating the Spurs the way they're playing. I mean, they're both having moments of just, not smart basketball. You can't waste any possessions, and man, do they both waste possessions. Coach, do I believe Westbrook will have a long career, but that I mean, will he be affected by his athleticism? No, I don't think he'll be that very effective at all without it. And unless he changes that and becomes more cerebral, I don't see any evidence that he'll be better without it. And then I can't remember if they removed the meniscus. If anybody wants to tell me if they did or not, let me know. Because if they did remove the meniscus, his career will be cut short either way. Why are teams stop running their offensive sets down the stretch and only start playing high pick and roll? Great question. They want to get their best players involved in the play. They don't want to make extra passes that might get stolen. So they get really bogged down, and what they don't realize is that it ends up making the shots that much harder anyway. So, it's a real myopic thing where they don't trust the system that they have, and it's real problematic. And, what are you going to do? Let me just tweet this out here. And then feel free to retweet this and let everyone know that we're here. So let's switch over to our what do you say, to some comments from YouTube. Let's see what that looks like. Here, let's see what we got. Let me find that thing. All right, so here we go. Sorry about the audio. Do I think that Chris Paul was fouled in the last play by Reggie Jackson, perhaps? I don't know. I don't think they're going to call that in that situation. It's just too small to read, probably. Let's make it bigger. And let's see here. Is that any better? Maybe. Let's make it even bigger. and then drag it out so we can see it. All right, let's try that. Is that legible? It's probably legible. Okay, what happened to Durant? He was just off, and they didn't run anything to really help him get open. So it was a nice mix of like sort of bad coaching in my mind and just him just being off. And it happens sometimes, but that's another reason why he needs a post-up game even more. I'm not going to argue with terrible officiating, and it seems to happen with Tony Brothers quite a bit. It's really a problem. It's a real problem. I don't know why he keeps getting the assignments. Do you think the CP3 actually fouled Westbrook on the three-point attempt? It almost looked like CP3 fouled him maybe on the way up, where I don't know. I don't know if I really saw him touch the elbow, and so it just didn't seem like it passed muster at all, especially in that situation. It really didn't. Yeah, I was off on Reggie for sure. Sorry about the audio. Let's see here. Now remember, they got robbed, but then again, the Clippers could have made this good for them, and they didn't because they also collapsed down the stretch with some terrible plays. Let's see here. I wonder if I should go get Ronnie and try and do a quick core call right now. In fact, probably should get him in here on the core call. But you know what? We'll do that later. Okay, let's see if I can click on this. And can I continue going, or do I have to go back? That's the other problem. Now I don't know where I left off. Well, I tell you what. Let's go back now and go through some more game footage. What do you say? Because that's the cool thing about this. We can go through and do mini breakdowns. So let's see. I have some other plays here. Let's get back to the first half here where we can share the screen. Now, at 4:40 of the second, let's see here. Oh, no, let's see here. 5:49 of the second. Problem is, it's hard for me to see the time when this thing comes over. I gotta let it go away. 5:49 of the second. We have a nice play here. Okay, let's get there. Sorry, guys. Let's scroll, and it'll be worth it, I promise. Oh. Almost missed it. Must be right before the commercial. Okay, so at 5:49, is that where we are here? Yeah. The second out of a timeout. Oh, I see. I have to go back a little farther, it looks like. No. Let's see what we got here. Let's just go through it. Now, here's Horns again, and they have this small lineup where they have Blake at the 5, which I really liked. I don't think I'd seen this lineup before. And they run Horns, and they put Jamal Crawford at the corner, which I really like because they can do a double ball screen on either side, and then they can kind of float Blake Griffin down to near the basket and then pop out Jamal Crawford for the 3. And you can see that gets Jamal Crawford wide open. And instead, then they fill Redick on the weak side. Really nice play. Redick in and out. He doesn't quite get it, but that's a nice little motion they get there. Now, let's see here. On 5:49, what do I have here? Have a second. Oh, it's coming up after this. Here we go. So the next play down, I like again, because remember, now the Clippers have running some nice offense. They're getting offense consecutively. That was after the commercials. Let's skip this. These guys got to go, don't you think? All right. So this was a nice little. This is one of my favorite plays where you do a dribble pitch into an inside screen. Doc's looking a little bit happier now than he did at the end of the game after I tweeted that picture out. If you didn't see it, let's see here. So we have. Okay. So we have a nice little. It looks a little bit like Horns actually when you think about it. When you have the double high post. So this also almost looked like a high post split. I don't know where 1, 2, 3, 4. Where's the fifth guy? Is he in the corner? 1, 2, 3, 4. That's really strange. Where's the fifth guy? He might be in the corner, but his defensive man should be there. Anyhow, so a little handoff back to CP3, and then Blake Griffin comes and screens. A little bit like the Hornets play they just ran, and you'll see, okay, the first screener pops out high, Blake Griffin pops out low, But because the Griffin is rolling hard, they're worried about that. It opens up a nice, easy shot for CP3. Boom. Nice play, nice offense. It's flow. So we cut to a minute later for the Thunder. I'm trying to keep it balanced here with both teams, but um, I was doing this in real time. Let's see here. At 4:40, let me skip to 4:40. Let's see here. All right, so here we go. You can see for an instance of like where Russ gets it in his head early that he's going to shoot it. It's never the best way to play the game when you decide way ahead of time that you're going to shoot the ball, because what you end up getting is a real bad sort of ISO. So this is a nice. I like the idea here. Kevin Durant screening for Russell Westbrook. Get your two best players involved in a play. They spread the floor a little bit, but you can see that Reggie was late kind of getting there, and this is not really where he should be, because look where Chris Paul can be. Reggie Jackson should be farther out wide to drag him out. If Chris Paul doesn't go with him, then it's a nice, easy pass, and Reggie can attack the seam. But instead, Chris Paul can actually blow that up a little bit. So, okay, they flow back into another pick and roll, which is fine with Kevin Durant, and now they get a switch. So now Russell, like I said, they clear out the entire side. Spacing is not great. You got three guys in here way too close together. That's going to allow Blake Griffin, if he wants to come over. And they get that a really bad shot by Russ, and he comes flying in there. Okay. Now at that point, though, they break right into another set here where they have Steven Adams. This is beautiful here. They're going to do a nice little corner series here where Reggie comes out of the corner, and watch what Steven Adams does. He fakes the handoff. I love this kind of stuff. This is very clever, old school stuff. And then Blake just really screws the pooch by going to Reggie. There was no need to bump up that high for Reggie Jackson. He's not going to shoot it that quickly. And if he does, great for the Clippers defense. He gets right to the hoop though and dunks it. Really nice play. I like to see that out of Steven Adams. And let me ask you this: you ever think that someone like Kendrick Perkins can make that move? No way. So really nice stuff. I say we should just go towards. Let's hop on over to the end of this game here, because I think we all want to see what happened and go through it by the last couple minutes. What do you say? So actually, let's go to some questions and see what we have there while we're here. Don't forget, use the hashtag #BBallShow, and I'll get to them if I can. All right, let's get back to what we have here. Who's better, Melo or CP3? I think CP3, but Melo is good. He's a good scorer. But CP3 overall is better. How does the ending of this game affect the Clippers' mentality for next game? It could very well affect them. I mean, Doc's going to say that it won't, but, those things can really get you down, and at least they'll be home. Thank you, David. It was totally rigged. I don't know if it was rigged, but they certainly succumbed to the home court. And there's your question, Andy, about that. Let's see. Who would I rather have to start my team? Bradley Beal, DeMar DeRozan, or Klay Thompson? Today I would take Klay, but next year, maybe the year after, I'd take Bradley Beal for sure. Wouldn't it help the Clippers to play ice because there's no weak side movement? Yeah. I mean, what you have to worry about with ice is that if it's Ibaka and he's going to, pick and pop, that would be a problem. But I'd rather have him shooting 20 pick and pops than Durant shooting. CP3 deserves a big part of the blame, certainly, a very big part. Coach, do you think they were going to talk about this game? Maybe Doc will complain. I mean, you can complain all you like. He gets fined, and that's all you're going to do. It doesn't change anything. Do I like the way the calls are reviewed by the referees? Certainly not the one that went out of bounds. I don't know how they could have reviewed that and they thought it was the Thunder ball. If I agree and I think it's flawed, what kind of system would you use to replace it? I don't even know. I mean, the review process doesn't seem like you can change much of that. I don't think Perry Jones you can't just throw him out there having not played very much at all, setting up to fail. So I don't think that's a real good look for them right now. I would have liked to have seen not Perry Jones, but I'd much rather see Lamb in there. Let's see here. All right, let's see. Any other questions here? What is funny is that Brothers explained to Vogel that he couldn't review the fact that T was out when he hit that crazy three. Right. Yeah, spacing was an issue, as we showed, for both teams, even on the defensive end, too. What's interesting about spacing is it doesn't have to be offense. Your defense could also get spacing problems as well. Let's see. Ugly basketball for sure. Let's see here. Oh, let's see. What would I tell my players if they thought it was obviously rigged? You know, here's the problem. The mindset isn't that, you know, they're out there against you. You have to be able to continue to play and block it out. I mean, it's going to be really, really hard to block that out. But you can't really dwell on it much because then it just lets your players think about it. So I would almost ignore it for the most part as much as I could, or maybe try and make light of it a little bit. But that's about it. Shall we jump into some more second half here? So here we go. Let's go. Let's look at the last few minutes here because I don't want to go. You know, otherwise we'll be here all night, which maybe you guys don't mind. But you know, it's late for the people on the East Coast if you're here. Hey, give me a shout out if you're on the East Coast and you're up watching this because that's exciting stuff here. Let's go to let's see. Where did this really start to fall off? 8-point lead. Let's see here. Here's the. By the way, okay, it's a 5-point lead with a minute to go. Right. The Clippers are in pretty good shape here. So let's go, because wait, I'm trying to think of when we're in good shape to see some of the bad calls, right? I'm trying to remember when the other out of bounds call was. Let's go back. Let's just go back to here. So we got a 6-point lead with a minute 40, and let's see what happens, shall we? Let's do a live breakdown with us if you're still here, and let me just make sure we're doing live breakdown of the last 2 minutes right now. All right, so let's see what happens. So they run. Oh yeah, this was a really bad shot by Jamal Crawford. They want to take time off, but the problem is you get into danger where they start playing not to lose, and they get very unaggressive. They don't run something. Now, by the way, here's the other adjustment was that Big Baby was in when I thought it was a big mistake, but it ended up giving them something they didn't have, a little extra energy. He made some plays, but let me just see something. All right, I'm seeing. By the way, I'm seeing an interesting tweet by Mark Spears. They're quoting Chris Paul saying, "I was shocked. You saw all of us go crazy. Tony Brothers said the replays they showed us had it off, y'all." So yeah, that's what they said. So they set a screen with Blake and Griffin again. Get your two best players, whatever. I would prefer to see some movement. And the spacing is very terrible here. By the way, you can see Jamal Crawford and Matt Barnes next to each other. That's not good. Big Baby is up too high, bringing his man in the way. So what does CP3 see? CP3 sees he went a little too early, so he wanted to take a little bit more time off. Oh, I see. And by the way, Blake is throwing up his hands. So something crazy happened maybe from the sideline where Doc said, no, don't screen for him. But I think he wanted to wait a little bit longer, but he waited way too long. Look at the shot clock on this. It's 5 seconds is not enough time. So they run it. And then just a real, Jamal had no choice but to throw up a three, and it was, wild shot. So I think this is when Kevin Durant. Oh, I see. So this is wild. You're down by 6. You have to go as quickly as you can, and they get a deflection, but Reggie gets in there for the layup. This is starting where it starts to fall off the rails here for the Clippers. Remember, the only thing they have to do is make them take 12, 14 seconds off every possession. If they can do that, and they hold the ball on their own for a nice 20-second chunk, then there's almost not enough possessions left for the Thunder to win. But they let them come right down and score. That was probably 3 seconds. So let's see what happens here. Down up by 4. You're still in great. It's a 2-possession game pretty much. Yeah, and you're in good position here. Take some time off and run a play. So what do? They go back to their old standby horns. This is great stuff. There's Jamal Crawford on the left elbow again, which they've been liking to do. And although it's a little strange because you'd almost think that Big Baby should be there because you want your shooters in the corners, but let's see what happens here. So they do that same double ball screen, which gave the Thunder so much trouble before. And by the way, let's not ignore the fact that they have Perkins in there, which is another real strange thing. So they run it. Oh yeah, this is great. So they run it. The one adjustment they wanted to make was Serge Ibaka was here in the horns last time, and it was way too down and was too far over toward Blake Griffin, right? So Chris Paul was able to get right to the basket and score layups 3-4 times in a row in the fourth quarter of Game 4. So their adjustment was, I think, a mistake as well. Perkins is up too high, but he's over there. Easy pass here, and they have to foul. And, there's definitely a big collision in the air, and they put him on the line. And I'm not so sure they mind. I mean, Blake has shot better this year, but he's still not a knockdown three-point shooter or a free throw shooter. So we go to the free throws, and I believe he makes both, right? Let's see, there are his proud parents. Yeah, he makes one, and then he makes the other one, right? Wait, remind me here. Forgive me, my mind has been crazy because of what's been happening in this game. All right, no, so he misses the second one. Oh, I forgive me. This is the big baby rebound. This is when the game should have been over. 5-point lead. They get the ball back. It's going to be under a minute. Gorgeous hustle by Big Baby. Gorgeous, because if you see the replay later, you can see that Ibaka was like pushing it. He was going sideways, but he got in there, right? So beautiful stuff. So now you have Chris Paul, the best point guard in the game, managing the game, letting it run down. And by the way, if we all didn't notice now, KD, for some strange reason, is on Chris Paul. Now, I think maybe because of the way the rebound happened, KD happened to be closest. But, okay, look, my instinct was, okay, they get the rebound, and Big Baby is dribbling, right? So at that point, the first thing you do is find your man, okay? You hear me? Find your man, right? That's what you have to do because you can't afford your man cutting or whatever. Here's Russ. He's standing, hopefully you can see my arrow. He's standing next to his man, Chris Paul, right? They're all pointing, throw it back out on top. Watch what Russ does. Russ goes running wildly, and so does Reggie Jackson, toward way up high to try and like get a random steal, okay? Now what that does is it forces Kevin Durant to pick up Chris Paul, okay? A mismatch for nothing, for a really bad gamble. Like those are like advanced IQ stuff, but man. So now they're behind the 8 ball, down by 5, and I'm already forgetting now what happens. So let's see what happens here. You know, they run it down to about 8. This is better. Now this I thought for sure was going to be an illegal screen because you always see that happen. The guy comes running full speed, doesn't get set. Chris Paul waits long enough. So now they get a nice screen here, and then Perkins there's no hope for him, and then he hits that shot, right? Yeah. So, why they have Perkins who's in there is way too slow. We've seen Chris Paul hit that shot against every great defender, though. So, give Perkins some credit. He tried. Now, outrageous. This is a 7-point lead with under a minute to go. Outrageous. There's no way you lose this game, right? So let's find out what happens here. All right, so now we have the out of bounds play. I love watching what people do when out of a timeout. Okay, so let's see what Scott Brooks calls here because this is always fascinating. So they make a box pretty much, right? And okay, and so you saw Blake Griffin was talking with Chris Paul. It was a little bit late, but he got there. So okay, we have. So they go. By the way, this is a bit of a mistake. You never want the sideline out of bounds play to go right to the low post. At the very least, though, Chris Paul did a nice job of forcing him to catch it way out by the 3-point line, so that's okay. Now what do they run? This was a flare screen here on the out of bounds, which you don't mind. I like to see the out of bounds guy come running back in to try and get a shot, but that's a weird angle to try and make that pass, even if it got through. You understand? So let's watch that one more time through in real time. They're going to watch Perkins is going to set as kind of a back screen flare. They do a very nice job covering that. Okay, Russ was supposed to throw it over there, but you know what happens though. That's a dangerous call because now you're throwing the ball back towards the Clippers hoop. Any kind of deflection is a layup for them. So I would never have called a play like that from that angle. Now they have Kevin Durant. Oh my God, I don't know. That was an incredible shot. Durant was awful all game. Couldn't make a shot, right? But he goes away. Now, does Perkins set the screen? No. Now, here's what I used to do. We saw this in the last game with the Heat, I believe, with LeBron, where they send him away, or somebody, I'm forgetting now. They send him away with the screen, and then normally Perkins would just turn around and screen again, and then he comes around. But they didn't even do that, and look at this shot. That's just outrageous. It's an outrageous shot. I mean, just crazy good. Big Baby couldn't have done any better than he did. So, and it didn't take very much time. But that's okay. Now you got 40 seconds left. You're up by 4. It's still 2 possessions, and you got to wait. Now, here's the thing. Look at the clock. It's about a 20-second difference on 2 possessions. So, in theory, if they don't foul, they'll have 20 seconds to score and then foul. It's sort of enough. You don't have to really foul. Okay, so they don't have to really foul, but look what they do here. They kind of randomly run at him, and we saw this in the last game too, didn't we? Where they had a random run at to try and double. I think Kevin Durant did it, and it was just random. They didn't foul, they didn't do anything. This time Chris Paul gets closer. But again, the reason why that kind of works is because they want him to try and shoot fast and maybe stop him at the basket. If they have to foul, they can foul there. But Jamal Crawford does a nice job of not taking the bait. Okay. So now they're getting into the 10 seconds, and Jamal Crawford wants to isolate. And look, oh yeah, and he says, he points to him. He's got Kendrick Perkins on him. And by the way, that was the perils of doing this Reggie Jackson crazy run at Chris Paul, was that it forced him into a mismatch. So now they have Jamal Crawford being guarded by on an ISO on top. Now that was a huge miss. Jamal Crawford really screwed the pooch all game on these bad shots, and in and out on a nice scoop shot basically at the rim. You got to finish that. So now what happens? Yeah, it's the only thing that you can get out of that. I'm kind of curious why on this. You usually would have guys back, okay? But let's see why they weren't back and why Durant was able to score so easily. It always happens when you miss a layup. Chris Paul is out here. You can't quite see him. He's on the wing. But I think the real problem was Matt Barnes cutting to the hoop. Because Matt Barnes is the guy you want back that could actually handle Kevin Durant. Now watch Matt Barnes over here, if you can see my mouse. See him over here? He is going to kind of crash the boards. And there was no need to on that one. They already had Blake, a big baby, and then the shooter himself in the area. So now that he's there, look, no hope. He'll never do it. And you know what? All the kudos in the world to Russell Westbrook. He played a great game. The whole game he played under control and did really well. And he finds Kevin Durant. And now, with it being even and him being so far back, this is Durant's going to score easily. And again, look how much time went off, maybe 3 seconds. So they've now had 2 plays in a row where he makes the layup, it's no problem, right? But because Barnes goes for that rebound, they have no hope of stopping him. Maybe you could have fouled him, but whatever. What are you going to do? It's a guaranteed free throw. All right, so this is really where it got surreal because it's a 2-point lead. You know what? I don't know. I don't see Chris Paul shooting that to try and avoid the foul, honestly. You guys can let me know what you think. To me, what this looks like is Chris Paul jumping in the air to make an up-court pass, which, again, doesn't make sense for a lot of reasons. A, why are you jumping up to make the pass? B, why is he passing to begin with? He needs to control this. And at the very least, what you should be doing is attacking the middle of the floor, okay? When you come in the ball, you don't want to get stuck close to the sideline. Look, he gets so close to that sideline as Russ comes up, and there's less real estate. He has to cross over, attack into the middle, get in the front court, and then they have to foul you, okay? And if they have to foul you then, once it's in the front court, you're going to be able to go up by 4, and they can't win the game. That's a good steal. I don't see a foul there. Now, here's where it really got surreal. Is Matt Barnes reaches in, knocks the ball out of bounds, and they call it for the Thunder, okay? But they're allowed to review. And Doc has no idea what's going on. How can Chris Paul, the best point guard in the league, who knows how to manage a game, how could he have done that with that turnover? Okay, and that was make no mistake, it was a turnover. So what we have here is the replay. Let's go through this. Again, I just can't fathom this. So let's see if we can see it from this angle, what we see. But either way, I know that this is the better angle is the one from the baseline, right, underneath the camera. So here's what we're going to get to. And again, all this is moot if Chris Paul doesn't jump in the air and try to throw a wild pass. Because if you look back on it, by the way, you'll see that everybody was in position to defend. There really wasn't a good pass to make. It just was never going to be worth it. So let's get to, let's see, is it this? Let's see if we can see it on this angle. Nope, let's go. It's the baseline angle, or this angle, actually. Okay, so this one will be stuttered, but it's slow motion anyway, so we should be able to see it. So I think we all agree, right? I mean, when you watch this, you're going to see there's the thing. Now, hand's part of the ball. It's never going to be a call. But there is Reggie, without a doubt, his right hand pushing the ball out of bounds. So how the referees reviewed this and took all the time in the world and gave it back to OKC is unfathomable, and I guarantee you that the NBA will come out and say they made a mistake. And I guarantee you that everyone's going to shrug and say, well, what does that mean? It doesn't help me at all. But that is terrible. And I got to figure you got Brothers and Salvatore. Brothers is really screwed the pooch all game. So that's a real problem because again, I need to stress as the process goes, they're not in that situation if Chris Paul doesn't make that colossal mistake, right? But at the very least, the referees can't compound it, and they certainly do. And again, Doc needs to get them focused and say, okay, we still have a 2-point lead. Let's play some defense. So let's see what they get here. So they run the baseline out of bounds. There's a lot of time, so you don't need to shoot it right away. And so they get a nice little split. I like what Blake did to help out on there to stop the layup because for a second Russ was open. But oh yeah, I'm sorry. Now I remember what happened on this. OKC still had 2 timeouts. Okay, you're down by 2. You don't really need to go for the win when you're at home. You want to get the best shot you can. Okay. You could go for the 3 if it's open because then you can maybe rely on a tip-in. But remember, you miss that and they get the rebound, the game is over. You want to be able to extend this game and give yourself the best chance with the most possessions possible to stay in the game. A wild miss 3, can conceivably end the game with 6 seconds to go. They get the rebound. By the time you foul, it's 4 seconds. You make the 2 free throws and the game is over because they're down by 4, right? So this can't possibly be. There's nothing that I see here that would indicate that this is what the OKC wanted. But then again, all I see here is Durant cutting the top, Reggie Jackson on the top. They're all sort of spacing around. So it looked like, yeah, they must have wanted the 3 or there was just still no coaching going on because I don't see a lot of purpose here. It's a terrible shot, okay? It really is. There couldn't have been a worse shot that Russ took, okay, in my opinion. He had the whole side cleared out. He could have gone to the basket. Shooting a contested 3 like that is just not a shot you're going to get. Now, it's weird because Russ is all upset, okay? He needed the hug from Durant when he didn't realize, I don't know, did he realize he got the foul called for him? It's very strange that he acts that way. Now let's go to the replay here because this is going to be important. Wait, did I miss the replay here? I know they showed Durant cheering, but wait, where's the darn replay? Come on. They must have waited until after the free throws. All right, let's get to the replays here. Okay, so let's see. This is not a good angle. By the way, I need to figure out who called it. Okay, we can see the referee who's standing right there, who's the lead official in this situation because he has a great view of the play, right? He doesn't call it. Let's get the replay first, and then maybe we'll see in the replay. Wait, why don't they show the other angle? Okay, so maybe from this angle we'll see. Okay, now this angle is a little far, but we can try and see. So here is where I thought maybe Chris Paul touched him on the chest. Oh, you know what? Does he touch him on the elbow? That's the only angle I can see that where maybe it looked like he touched him on the elbow. That looked like there might have been something, but let's see if we can find one more angle of this. That angle you can't tell if it hits him on the elbow. The thing is, the referee there, I mean, he certainly missed it by quite a bit, so I wouldn't be surprised. It is a little bit troubling. I mean, you don't normally call it on that, but okay. I think Russ got real lucky because it was not a good shot to say the least. But he hit the free throws. But again, they have plenty of time. They have a timeout. They get sidelined out of bounds. They have plenty of time to get something good here, and they could make everybody forget about all these bad plays. So they run a little zipper cut for Chris Paul into pick and roll. This is fine. There's movement, and Blake screening. So Blake takes him out. This is good. Okay, I remember this now. So he gets the switch, right? And they probably told him to switch everything because they don't have time to be fighting over and give up anything open. So, shot. I've seen Chris Paul hit this shot for game winners all the time, right? Or for these certainly out of the pick and roll. Doesn't take it. Now there's the other time, and he was about to pull up, and then he just loses the ball. He just loses the ball. Do I have I wonder. Do I have I'm looking for fastback? No, slow mo. Okay, so let's see if I have go to the beginning of that fast. Nope. Okay. Oh my God, was he trying to pass to Blake? Either way, just you have to get a shot. You have to get a shot off in that situation, and Chris Paul knows that. Let's see here. Oh, that's the question. Did Reggie Jackson foul him? He got too deep. He got in too deep here anyway. The shot is there. Wow. Wow. Okay, here's the argument. You're going to call a foul on Chris Paul, then you got to call a foul in this situation, right? I'm going to see this one more time. You know what? He was already losing the ball. He literally just lost the ball. Wow. I'm flabbergasted. He literally loses the ball really before Reggie even. It didn't help. It didn't help. But he started to kind of lose the ball and was in a defensive position with the ball. Let me show you what I mean by that. He was, as he's dribbling, as he's ready to pick it up, you never want to be like this with your arms out with the ball. He was already starting to lose it, and his hands were straight out, and that's a position where any kind of little touch will knock it out, right? If you're like this and strong, then that doesn't bother you so much. You can go up and shoot it. But he clearly had started to kind of get it out away from him, and that's what happened. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I know there was contact there. That's a tough one. Do we see? I want to see who the referee was on the foul call of the three-pointer, because that's the other thing that's inexplicable was how the referee who was standing right there doesn't call it, but then who does make it? Because Brothers is already guilty of freight training, is what I call it, making calls from across the court on bad angles where you can't see anything. And in fact, on the other out of bounds play that was down on the Clippers side, there's another out of bounds play we must have been before that. He kind of, I don't know if he overrode the call, but he made sure he called it for the Thunder when everything had happened on the other side of the players. There's no way in heck that he could have ever seen what happened, and yet he was completely adamant that was what it was. Let me see here. It's just yeah. So let's just. I want to see. Okay. Oh, was it Salvatore? Because Brothers was down by the baseline. Let me see if we can see on this play who makes the call. Oh. Oh, wait a minute. You know what? The lead official made the call without raising his hand. Is that what happened? Let's see here. Huh. The lead official goes like this, calling for the three, like it's a three-pointer, and I guess he blows a whistle too. Doesn't make any kind of motion like this or like this. But the other officials don't make a motion, so it looks like it was a lead official. All right, well, anyway, crazy game, insane. Let's go back to some more questions on Twitter, shall we, and see what you guys are reacting to here, because I'm always interested to hear your take on that. Let's go back and find where we left off. All right, so here's the problem. I got to go, and then I hate this. I got to scroll back down 31 tweets. So let's get up these questions, and then we'll see how we're doing here. All right, here we go. The referees just saved Brooks' job for now. Yeah, I mean, basically, because remember, I keep saying that if Brooks, if he loses the series, then he gets fired. I just don't think he keeps his job. And the way they're playing, I don't even know if he's going to keep it anyway. I think it's becoming pretty clear that he's not going to get him to the next level. The clear path foul on Jackson. I got to get Ronnie on there. The clear path foul, as far as I remember Ronnie explaining it earlier this year, was once the pass is made, the foul was made after the pass. Then once the pass is in the air, it's whoever is ahead, and that was a Thunder guy who was way ahead, and that was why it was a clear path. The flagrant one on Russ in the first quarter, yeah, that was not a very good flagrant call. Let's see here. Is Tony Brothers the worst official in the NBA? There's some bad ones out there, so I don't know exactly if he's up there, but he's up there. All right, let's see here. Do I think the game was fixed? I don't know. Was Donaghy saying anything about this series? Because I know he was talking about the Nets, but I don't know if he was talking about this one. But, obviously, if they wanted to go 7 games, they certainly can't have the Thunder being down 3-2 going to L.A. So, it's an interesting conundrum. Did Jackson foul Paul in the last play? Yeah, I mean, I don't think – I would say no, they don't call fouls in that situation, but then they went ahead and called the one on Russ. But for Russ, but you know what? The one on Russ, it does look like he got hit on the elbow enough where he kind of had to call it. How did the Clips shut down KD? I think they were a little physical with him, and they were, they stuck on him, and he wasn't getting open with screens. How many times a game do you think Westbrook got foul calls on drives? he certainly got a couple like that where he was out of control and they got him. But you know what? It's like the James Harden thing, right? How am I even talking calmly right now? I don't know. Um, Westbrook was great in this game for sure. He was great in this game. My thoughts on Scott Brooks' coaching you kind of heard already. Let's see here. Coach CP3 did not throw the ball away in the last play. He was fouled by Jackson. We just showed it. I don't think he, that foul doesn't really pass muster for the last second play. Ooh, you know what? I haven't even seen that play where they do the high-low from Griffin to Jordan, so I don't know if they stopped it as much as they didn't run it. Yeah. Again, you have to, on the road in a tough playoff game, you have to limit the mistakes that will, the referees are going to be involved and all the other bad stuff that happens, but you can limit that if you don't make those crucial mistakes that you can control. They repaired the meniscus. Okay, so that's good. If Westbrook and Dragic switch spots, the Thunder. I don't know if that solves the Thunder's issues as much. But I think the Suns. I don't know. That's a good question because Dragic is a lot like Westbrook, but probably makes better decisions as well. I'm not so sure that really benefits either team. All right. Maybe I'll do that next time. Let's see. How is that not a foul? I'm assuming you're talking about maybe Reggie Jackson. We already talked about that. Do I think the Pacers can really beat the Heat after tonight's loss? No, the Pacers do not look like they're ready to go to beat it. By the way, the Pacers look like they're going to lose to Washington in 7. Is it fair to say that both teams won a game in the series they didn't deserve to? Well, which one did the Clippers not? Which one do you mean? Do you mean the one where Chris Paul hit all the threes and they blew him out? Or the other one where they came back? You know what? The way that OKC ran their plays down the stretch and just the general IQ is no. I think that the Clippers deserve to win that last game, the game 4, because of that. And on this one, did the Clippers deserve to win? You're probably right for the very same reason they didn't deserve to win this game either. Although the referees were a lot more of a factor in Game 5 for sure. Is OKC's best lineup? Yeah, probably. Yeah, this looks like their best lineup. Reggie, Russ, Kevin, Ibaka, and Steven Adams. Nice. All right, Eli, way to stay up. All right, hey, Rafa. Genial. Let's see here. If a player has his hand in contact with the ball and the opponent hits the hand, causing the ball to go out of bounds, the team, is there more than that? If a player has his hand in contact with the ball and the opponent hits the hand, causing the ball to go out of bounds, no, that's not what happened, though. He slapped the ball out, but then there was still a whole other 6 frames of Reggie Jackson touching the ball on the way out. So it wasn't like he forced the ball out of his hands. It was, let's see. If a player has his hand in contact with the ball and the opponent hits the hand, oh, I see. Oh. So basically what you're saying is how they interpreted that is that Matt Barnes hit the hand, not the ball. And that because the hand continued to touch the ball at that point, but it was dislodged because of the hand, it is rewarded to the Thunder. Wow, interesting. Well, we'll have to find out if that's exactly how they ruled that. How much did Ibaka's shot blocking? I mean, I'm sure it did. The spacing wasn't great. That allowed Ibaka to kind of get in there as well. It was sort of a whole rigmarole, and you don't normally see that. So that's an interesting issue all around, and just a crazy game. So a lot of stuff. I'll have to get Ronnie in here tomorrow. We'll break down the calls just from this game because there's certainly a lot of them. But awesome post-game show again. We had a lot of people in this one. I hope you guys liked that live breakdown because that was pretty cool. Certainly worthy of it's doing something. I probably have to get in there right now and release something real quick, right? But let me see if I can't. Ronnie's probably sleeping too bad because I would love to get his interpretation of that. But I'll see if I can't get a quick breakdown up tonight. But thanks for joining us, sports fans. I know I'm a little bit all over the place, but man, was that a crazy game and a lot to go through. So thanks for joining us. Don't miss the breakdowns tomorrow. I'll be going to Chicago tomorrow night for the NBA Draft Combine. So stay tuned for that. Hopefully we'll get a lot of really cool footage from there that we can talk about, even though the top guys are not going to be there. We'll have a lot of great stuff and some great interviews. So thanks for joining us, sports fans. And don't forget, at B-Ball Breakdown, we're not a channel. We're a conversation. You in?